morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. Everybody have a seat. The governor will be here shortly, so I will make an attempt to stand in for a few minutes, since everybody gets settled in their seats.
Go ahead, Joe.
What a beautiful day it is. I just had the best sausage egg biscuit I think I've ever eaten in my life. Will somebody please show me where the treadmill machine is so I can spend the next 2 hours trying to work that off. That was wonderful. Good morning. I'm Dave Hardy. I'm the Secretary of Labor, Revenue. Boy, I'm off this morning. That's what a weekend will do for you. I'm the Secretary of Revenue for Governor Justice, and it is wonderful to be here on behalf of the governor. Thank you for being here. And let me tell you about the governor, okay? In January of 2017, it was on Martin Luther King Day. It was a Monday holiday, just like today. We started our journey together when the governor honored me by asking me to be Secretary of Revenue. I was previously Kanawha County Commissioner for 16 years, and I was a member of Charleston City Council for 6 years. And we sat down with the state budget director, and we looked at our financial reports, and there was a bunch of red ink. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, I just got here today, but I know what red ink means. So the governor and I looked together at the report, and it showed that for the remainder of that fiscal year, which at that point it was in January 17, 5.5 months, the state of West Virginia was $217 million underwater. Bad way to start. Welcome to being the governor there, Mr. Justice. Then we said, oh, what are we going to do? He said, wait a minute, got another report for you, fiscal year 18. Fiscal year 18 report was handed to us, and it showed that we were $497 million below water for the upcoming fiscal year 18. So when you added those two numbers together, our starting point was $700+ million deficit. Now that was 5.5 years ago. Now I'm going to take you in a time machine. June 30th, 2022, this year, we just closed our fiscal year 22 books, and under the leadership of Governor Justice, West Virginia posted a $1,308,000,000 surplus for fiscal year 22. So we went from 700 down to 1.3 billion up since Governor Justice has been the leader of our state. And shortly thereafter, the governor said, to our revenue team, our tax folks, I want to start putting money back in West Virginians' pockets. Let's get started on how to do it. We looked around the country and we saw exactly what's going on in our country today. There are 9 states that don't have an income tax. Out of 50, 9. States that many of us go to. Florida, we all know how much Florida's been in the news. Tennessee, Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Alaska. Those 9 states are blowing up right now with growth. The population in the last 10 years of the 9 states that don't have the state income tax has grown. Those states have grown at twice the national average. The economies in those states have grown 56% faster than the economies in the other 41 states. Then we said, wow, there's a pattern here. We looked across the country, many states are starting to lower their state income tax, including the Buckeye State across the Ohio River from us. And the governor said, there's where we need to go. We want to try to eliminate the state income tax in the great state of West Virginia. Now that's no easy task, but the governor's like Aaron Judge. He doesn't swing for singles, he swings for home runs. And his goal is to eliminate the state income tax in West Virginia. And we started that process this year. First week of July, the legislature was called into session. The governor said, I'm going to cut the state income tax 10% right now, today, for this year. One cut of 10% of the state income tax gives all of us West Virginians $271 million back in our pockets. 10% cut, first step. 100% goes back to people who work and participate in West Virginia's economy. The House of Delegates passed the governor's plan in one day. One day. But the West Virginia State Senate said no. Would not hear the plan, would not put it on the agenda. So to this day, we have not had the ability to cut that income tax. Instead, the West Virginia Senate has an idea called Amendment 2. Now, I'm going to say this. I've been around government budgets 28 years, city, county, and state. My deputy budget director, Deputy Secretary of Revenue, Mark Mucos, 36 years. Between the two of us, we have 65 years experience on managing budgets. And I'm here to tell you, Amendment 2 is a train wreck. It will cause us a major problem with the state's budget going forward. And the governor's going to talk to you today about Amendment 2. But let me tell you a few things about Amendment 2. We have right now, for 90 years, our state constitution has said the property taxes paid go to the cities, the counties, and the school boards. They don't go anywhere else. That is baked in the West Virginia Constitution that was voted on by the people of West Virginia in November of 1932. Amendment 2, which has to be voted on by the people, removes that particular provision of the West Virginia Constitution and says, going forward, the West Virginia legislature will decide what to do with the property taxes. Now you say, well, why is that a bad idea? Well, let's think about this. All your property tax money goes to Charleston with no guarantee that it'll ever come back. Now, what was the idea? The legislature, through its budget, will decide if you're going to get your money back or not. Every year. For the year 2075, the West Virginia legislature will be deciding if you get your property tax money back. Now, you think about what you have here. Guaranteed, baked in the Constitution, property tax dollars, cities, counties, school boards. Give that up and let the West Virginia legislature collect those funds and decide how much you get back. I'll let you decide if that's a good idea. Last point I'll make about Amendment 2. It's going to cost the West Virginia Treasury close to $600 million every year. Every year, $600 million. 2/3 of the money through tax exemptions for large companies will be given back to large companies and maybe some small companies. Only 1/3 of it will come back to West Virginians through the potential elimination of the property tax on your cars. $135 million versus $271 million right now. Guaranteed revenue through Amendment 2 for your cities, counties, and school boards versus going to Charleston every year and having your hat in your hand asking for your own money back, year in and year out. That's what we're here to discuss today. And if anybody that knows anything about West Virginia state government, I'll leave you with this. We have our challenges. PEIA, pensions, national disasters, natural disasters, the rising cost of jail bills. The state's budget is always a challenge. We're in good times right now. But we know going forward, Anybody that's read any history knows we're always going to have ups and downs in our budget. So if you want to get in line with everybody else in Charleston, vote for Amendment 2. If you want to have your guaranteed property tax revenue, vote no on Amendment 2. That being said, I believe the governor is here. Is he here, Jordan? Let me introduce to you the gentleman that has taken us from $700 million down to $1.3 million up in 5 years, the 36th governor of the state of West Virginia, the Honorable Jim Justice. And thank you, guys.
Oh, how y'all doing today? Morning, good. Good to see all of you. You too, Billy. Well, I know we've got senators here. I don't know about delegates. Do we have any delegates here? Well, I know we've got a lot of important folks. And I appreciate you coming. And I'll answer your questions when we get through, but I just want to tell you just this. And all of you know me, and you know me pretty well, or for the most part, all of you do. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be here if it wouldn't be really important. Now, just to tell it like it is, you're going to have a hard time defeating this. You really are. You really probably don't have any possible clue as to how important this is and what could really happen. The other things you don't know what goes on in Charleston, and you may think you've got representatives and they tell you and everything, but at the end of the day, I go back to this weekend, and from time to time, when Phil Kapler, who I think is the most toxic human being that ever breathed, to everybody across the state. But one of the things I thought was really, really, really interesting, and it's just this, is he says that my abilities to work with the legislature have been nowhere close to as good as governor before me. And I would say to you, let's just think, and let's be really fair. Governor before me, what did they do for you? What did they really do for you? So from that standpoint, if that's what it takes for me to not be the most successful working with the legislature and yet deliver to you, because I don't want to sit on a pedestal and think, that I've been the greatest of all time, hands down, but literally, at the end of the day, all the stuff that we've done together has worked. And it has. We can say what we want, but I can promise you to God above, when I walked in the door, our state was dead level bankrupt. And today, I can promise you without any question, we're doing pretty dadgum good. Now, if they had all the answers before I got there, then why didn't they do them? Why didn't they do them? I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't do them. And literally, when I walked in the door, they had only one place to turn, and that was cuts. Well, government's got all this waste, well, we'll just cut. And every time that they cut, more people left West Virginia. And when they left West Virginia, They took their tax dollars and their businesses and their revenues with them, and they drug the hole right with them. And then they didn't have any idea what in the crap to do. Now literally, day one, that's where we were. And then all of a sudden we took off down this pathway, roads to prosperity, and if you were really fair, the powers to be and the roads to prosperity vote that they did amongst themselves, one vote was 122 against, 1 for. 122 to 1. It was. Honest to goodness, it was. Now, I'm not talking about just the legislature, I'm talking about within their groups. And just think, I said right off the get-go, we got to amp up tourism. We got to do something about our parks. Think what's happened. I mean, my God, 11. We got to support our vets. We got to absolutely eliminate, our vets and our seniors paying, state income tax, whatever. We got to get after this. We got to diversify our economy. And we need to tier the severance tax on coal and oil and gas. I begged them. I begged them to do it. Now I'm going to show you something here in just a second, about the mathematics of that. You don't realize this. There's no way you can realize it. But the biggest mistake in the history of West Virginia. Hey, babe, it's not good, is it? All right, Babydog, come here now. Hold on. Hold on. We got to have Joey. You got to get Babydog. Because she doesn't normally do that. Put her back up here and let's just see if she'll just hang out. She may be looking for a place to visit. If you'll really watch her, come on, baby. Come on, get back here. Come on,
I think she saw a squirrel in that tree.
You got to do what I do from time to time. You got to be still just a little while. Let me tell you this, and she's really good at not pottying somewhere that she's not supposed to. But the other day in my office my office in the Capitol, my office is full of people, okay? And she just kind of walking around there and everything. And I'm not paying a lot of attention to her. And you got people as close, there's a couch, there's 3 people as close as these chairs to my desk. And there's people sitting everywhere. And she just strolls right there in front of those people and poo-poos right there. So that's why I said we have to watch, we got to keep close to that. While I'm on that, let me just say this. This pandemic has been super tough on everybody. And it's touched all of us in every way. And I hope and pray that you haven't lost loved ones. There's a good chance you have, friends and whomever it may be. And that's terrible, beyond belief. But the neat thing about this is, I never dreamed I'd be hauling a bulldog around a lot. I mean, I didn't really sign up for that or think that that's what I'd be doing. But the thing that I think she's done is just this, when our kids, Jay and Jill, gave her to us, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got 2 Boston Terriers in the bed with me now, and now I'm a bulldog, and she's going to grow up to be something else. Well, anyway, when they gave her to me, or to us, she was just running around everywhere, just a little puppy, and our little 2-year-old grandson, just a baby, and he used to say, "Where'd that Babydog go?" And so we named her Babydog. And then from that, she'd ride around with me some, and at times you were reading, you couldn't believe. One time they really thought, there was a study done in Washington State that said 74 people would die in West Virginia from COVID. And I thought, there's no way. It can't be that bad. There's no way. Well, we've got 7,400 people now that have died. And so when you read those names all the time, it's tough. I mean, it's just tough because what the families are going through and everything. It's just not fun. I mean, it's not good at all. But every time I looked at her, and every time I saw you look at her, she made you smile, she makes me smile. And then I say over and over and over, the biggest thing of all is it didn't matter who it was that walked up to her, she loved everybody. Everybody. And then it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like that happens so often in life, an everyday occurrence in which God chooses to remain anonymous. That is the definition of coincidence. An everyday occurrence in which God chooses to remain anonymous. Well, literally, if we can make people smile, and we loved everybody, it wouldn't matter if it was rich, poor, black, white, old, young, Republican, Democrat, it wouldn't matter what it was. Wouldn't we be a heck of a lot better people? Wouldn't life be a lot simpler? And so that's it. You know, that's it from her standpoint. Now, let me go back to just this. All those things that I'm talking about, bankrupt day one, rose to prosperity, you know, had to just fight like crazy to get that through. We really felt like, well, tourism, we can take money away from, that's a place you can cut. Well, it's the last thing on earth we need to do. We need to put money into tourism and be proud of our own pond and put money in our parks, and absolutely. And then it starts, all of a sudden, we had to make education our centerpiece. Absolutely try to make it that, at least on the outside, tell people that's what we wanted to do. And then, all of a sudden, the image starts to change. Now, like it or not like it, but we were the blunt end of a lot of bad jokes. And literally, people, we know how good we are here and how blessed we are here, but on the outside, people didn't buy that. They would say what they want, but they didn't buy that. So we had to change a lot of things and get on a pathway, and then all of a sudden it started working. Now everybody wants to take credit for it working, but it really started working, you know. And now all of a sudden, lo and behold, you awaken, you got surpluses out the yin yang, you got everything in the world going on, and going on in a good way, and we can keep it going, or we can blow our own legs off. You better really listen to me about this, because I'm right about this. You see, probably a year ago, you know, Senate leadership's been traveling around all over the place talking to all of y'all, talking to county commissioners and talking to whomever it may be, and you know, and they have these great numbers and everything, and who knows if the numbers are right or not right, but they really believe this is the epitome of, I don't know if they're for real or not, but they sure think they are. You know, think about that. Well, all of a sudden, then they knew there was no way to get this passed except if we do one thing, and that is we'll hook our car tax to it. Now, like it or not like it, that probably politically, if you say politically, was probably a good move. But all they did was just buy your vote. And then keep it quiet and let it go and let it look like that's what this whole thing really is. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's just my opinion, I'm not going to debate this with people, I don't need to do all that. But the net of the whole thing is, they don't care about your car tax. Your car tax really doesn't mean anything to them. The car tax is a vehicle or a mechanism to be able to get your vote, to be able to get what they really want. And what they really want is they want rid of the machinery and inventory tax, which is the big 800-pound gorilla in the room. And literally, the only way that they can really get rid of that, and they couch it, the car tax deal, is basically they got to have your vote. Because right now, without your vote, they don't have the mechanism to be able to do it. Now we can say what we want, but at the end of the day, here's what Jim thinks is going to happen. And Jim is a guy that, like it or not like it, that walked in out of the clear blue nowhere and said, this state's bankrupt. And Jim's the guy that brought you roads to prosperity and the tourism and the parks and on and on and on and on and on. And like it or not like it, probably the surpluses and putting an emphasis on education and the image and the vets and whatever. Now, just stay with me just one second. If you decide in your mind that you want to do this, and the other thing that blows me away is just this, is I really truly believe, and I don't know, you know, what rolling bugs, you know, I don't know their preference, I don't really care, I don't want to know, but I really believe that it was probably not the right thing, but Senate leadership kept them from voting. They wouldn't even let them vote on it. You know, the House said, we need to do this, what Justice wants to do, and the Senate wouldn't even take it up. So they never voted. Now what I'm saying is just this. Let's think about just this. Is if you step back from this and think, you do have control right now of your destiny. If you give it up in your vote, literally at the end of the day, then Charleston has control of your destiny. Do you understand what I'm saying there? I mean, really and truly, what you're voting on in Amendment 2 is to give them, Charleston, the ability to change the tax code. Now you don't have, now right today, they don't have that ability. They can't take the taxes that flow to your counties and then you manage your own self. They can't do that unless you give it to them in Amendment 2. Now look, I'm not insulting in any way. But if you do this, and you know, I grew up with a show called Laugh-In. They had dumb bunnies on Laugh-In all the time. Well, y'all be dumb bunnies if you do this. Because at the end of the day, what will happen as sure as Jimmy knows his name, and it's just, and this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to have a bump in the road. And when we have a bump in the road, then the only thing that we'll be able to do is cut. And I will see you at that point in time at Walmart, because I'll be long gone. And I'll see you at Walmart and I'll look right at you and say, I told you so. I can't lose. I'm here because I love you. And I want nothing but good for you. Now, you can say what you want, but that's all there is to it. That's all I've ever wanted. You see, I don't want anything. I absolutely don't want anything. I don't want anything from the lobbyists. I don't want any campaign donations. I don't want nothing. You know? Now, with all that being said, just ask yourself just a couple more questions. Who benefits from the machinery and inventory tax? Who benefits the most in this room from the machinery and inventory tax? 100 to 1. Who benefits the most of everybody? Me. Me. Jim Justice does. And he's sitting here telling you don't do it. Well, it takes a big guy to do that. Because our companies surely have had a tough go of it and all that kind of stuff. But absolutely, without any question, this would mean millions of dollars to me. Guarantee it. But you see, I didn't sign on for that. I didn't sign on to do what's best for me. I signed on for you. And I'm going to stand rock solid there no matter what. Now, who benefits the least? You know who benefits the least? The guy's getting his dinner bucket. Or the gal that's getting her dinner bucket. That's the ones that benefit the least. Who benefits the most beyond Jim Justice? Big corporations. They do. Now look, listen, I am 1,000 million to 1 a conservative and stand rock solid on the conservative values. Life, guns, good business, all right to work, all that stuff. But now let's even think about this just a second. What if this passes and they're betting on all the great things that I've got going on right now that will stay? And what if they don't? Well, then you've had it. You're toast. And you're giving it up. And you know what? Nobody knows it. That's the other flip side. I bet you all the money in Texas, if you go right out on the streets, you go to schools or whatever, nobody knows it. And you know what they think? They think, I'm getting rid of a car tax. Well, I would 1,000,000 to 1 be for getting rid of your car tax. And I'd absolutely celebrate doing that tomorrow. In every way. But that's not what matters. What matters to them is the machinery and inventory tax. And what matters to me is this. Now, if I could just graduate one step further. And that is your personal income tax. Because your personal income tax puts, because I want to stand with the people. Your personal income tax puts money in your pockets. Every single one in your pockets. It does. The other is a hope that they'll come. Now, again, and I am the guy that's always brutally honest. I would stand up and say to the top of all the mountains, I am for our right to work law 100 million trillion to 1. But when we did that, we felt like they would come from everywhere. And they didn't come. And we spun around 3 times, and they still didn't come. What happens if you go out there and build that field and they don't come? Now, one thing that we know will work for sure, either you start on a pathway of getting rid of your personal income tax, it will come. They've come to everywhere. Everywhere. Not only do you benefit like crazy, and you're the ones that brung you to the dance. You're the ones. But if we do that, they will come. We know that for certain. We know that absolute ironclad for certain. I mean, God Almighty, how in the world is it so hard to just look at stuff and say, well, here's a tax report, and that tax report says states that do have a machinery and inventory tax versus states that are on a pathway to getting rid of their personal income tax. These states are doing good, these states do. Well, I mean, you can look at anything. And on top of all that, all the population, 2/3 of the population of this country drives through us to get to Tennessee. Well, come on. I mean, this is not rocket science. I would be 100% for getting rid of the machinery inventory tax once you got rewarded and we got on a pathway, a good solid pathway of getting rid of our personal income tax. And then at some point in time, the state was doing so good, we could reach back and really get rid of our the machinery and inventory tax. I'd be all for it, 1,000%. But we won't even talk about that. You know why? They got to have all the money. Why do they have to have all the money? Simple as mud. I mean, it's absolutely just simple as mud. Think about this. This is going to cost the state, pull the money out of the state. This is going to cost $600 million. $600 million. If you add on the personal income tax, now it's going to probably cost $900 million. They got to have all the money. I mean, Lord, the risk is so high, it's off the chart. If you pull $900 million out of this scenario today, and you stub your toe at all, you're toast. That's all there is to it. You know, and so the net of the whole thing is just as simple as just this. We ought to be on the way to getting rid of our personal income tax. But lay that aside. You know, there is basically a big steal going on right now, and you don't know it. The big steal is they're stealing your income stream, and then you're going to have to absolutely every year hope like crazy that it comes back. And I'm going to be gone. And the last of my last is just to say just this, is wouldn't it be really simple, wouldn't it have been so simple for me to just go cut the ribbons drive around and have everybody pat me on the back and say, boy, Jim, you've done a great job. We love you with all our soul. Our roads are fixed, and and unemployment's super low, and everything, you got surpluses, and everything's going great. Wouldn't it have been great for me just to sit around and say, I helped you get rid of your car tax, and I helped you get rid of the machinery and inventory tax, and I'm leaving, bye, I'm gone. And I could have ridden out into the sunset and been gone, and you would have loved me beyond all good sense. And yet I'm sitting right here at Twin Falls with you today, saying, this ain't good. This ain't good. Because of one thing, and that's all, and then this is my very end. I believe that God made me Jim Justice for a reason. He made me that for a reason, and every last one of you the same for a reason. And I believe if I just did that and hung out, that's basically what I'd be doing. Hanging out, cutting the ribbons, riding the wave to the end and saying, bye, see y'all. He didn't make me Jim Justice to hang out. So as long as he gives me breath, I'm going to keep digging. And I'm going to keep digging for y'all. And if you don't like that, and you don't think that's right or whatever like that, well, tough. Because that's what I'm going to do. You know. Now, the net of the whole thing is just one thing. Just think what we're battling here. We're battling the manufacturer's money. You're battling the Chamber of Commerce and their money. You're battling propaganda, and you just a nestful. But it's us, and you can do something about it. At the end of the day, I really believe we're on a great pathway in the state, and if we don't watch out, we'll screw it up. I'll take your questions. If anybody's got a question, please ask. stand for a tax cut for the people. It's just crazy stuff. Or Republicans are saying, we want Charleston control versus local control. What happened to Republicans? What in the world happened? You know, well, I can tell you exactly what happened. You've got lobbyists that are absolutely down there, and they're special interest, and they are you know what the definition of swamp is in D.C.? The swamp is just simply just this. You've got lobbyists down there with the money. They go to either the Senate or the House members, and they're passing money out or doing perks or whatever it may be to get their votes for big business or whatever it may be. That's the swamp. That's what's going on in D.C. right now as we speak. In all honesty, that's what's going on in Charleston too. Now, the other thing that is really bad is when leadership says, and you see it in D.C., my God, you see it in Charleston. When leadership says, we want to do this, then we line up right as sheep, and we don't know any better, and we just vote the same way. That's what we do. We just line up, right there. Well, look, you can call me anything you can do, anything you want to me in any way. I'm going to stand with the people. I'm going to stand with you. That's where I'm going to stand. That's where I'm going to always be. I'm not going to just line up because leadership said, or I'm not going to do whatever because somebody said. If I really believe that you elect these folks to represent you. They should represent you. They should be looking out after you first and foremost, not doing what leadership says. You know, they should do that. And we can come up with this funny money stuff all day long and say, well, if we do this, we got all kinds of businesses out there that are suffering. Small business needs this really bad. Well, think what would happen to small business if we got rid of our personal income tax and we drove small business 5 times the business they have today. I mean, we can hide behind any bush in the world. This is the swamp. Man, it's not any good. Yes, sir.
Governor, could you touch on the last 7 or 8 new companies that have come into West Virginia and their take on machinery, equipment, and inventory tax?
I'll tell you just as point blank as I did. Now listen, let me tell you this. Now a bunch of you know me really well. I will tell you to God above, I'll make a bunch of mistakes. But I'm never knowingly going to tell you something that I know is not true. I'm not going to do that for nothing. Now just listen to me. 2 years ago, I stood up at the state of the state and said, we need to get rid of our machinery and inventory tax. Well, why would I say that then and not say it now? Why would I do that? Well, the reason is, now you got all kinds of info. I mean, at that point in time, I never would have thought in 1,000 million years you could have got rid of your personal income tax. But now, with where this state's trending and everything, we can. It's a different animal today. And on top of that, then, who would have ever believed that Nucor would be here, or Green Power, or Berkshire Hathaway, or Pure Watercraft, or on and on and on. Who would have ever believed that Omnibus or whatever, who would have ever believed these people would be here? Now, and I'm going to tell you again, and I really mean this, if I had a Bible, I'd put my hand on it and swear to God above. I still not had the first company call me on the phone or meet with me and say, the first company say, you know, I'd come to West Virginia if you got rid of that machinery and inventory tax. Not one. Zero have asked that. Zero. What we do is we craft things together. We craft stuff together because with the surpluses, to be able to attract people here, it's working. You know, Dad and me, he always say the same thing. If it ain't broke, why fix it? You know, it's working. It's blooming working. And can you just imagine, I imagine, if not one company, now, say what you want, but now this sounds egotistical, but I've got more business sense than that whole Capitol's got there. Because I've made every mistake you can make in business. I have done it and screwed up and screwed up and screwed up and screwed up. All kinds of, a giant horizon of lots and lots and lots of different types of businesses. You would surely think to God above, the first person on a business thing they would come to and talk to would be me. Nothing. Zero. They got it figured out. They got it figured out. You would surely go and think, well, if you've got a real problem with your machinery and inventory tax with people coming here, I would know about it. Or people would have been calling me saying, we're not coming unless you get rid of that. Nothing. They are coming. You know, thank you for the question, sir.
The other question I've got, or comment, all the propaganda that has came out of wherever doesn't deal with $5 million of public utilities for Wyoming County, which we got a check last week for $2.5 million. It doesn't, it's not included in this mess, and you know, AEPs of the world, Norfolk Southern, everybody's going to get on board, and I'm sure the courts will uphold the fact that they need to be included in this giveaway. And that's, you know, you put that on top of your $600 million, we're talking probably $750 million.
Well, one thing we don't have in the 600, Dave, you want to say something?
Yeah, that's a good, gentleman brought up.
Very good point. There's about, depending on the numbers, because the numbers aren't always broken out for public utilities, there's about $125 million to $150 million of taxes from public utility companies that are not specifically included in Amendment 2. However, they will likely argue that they are going to be entitled to the exemptions, which means that might raise this $600 million to $700 to $750 million. And we all know that the public utilities are not shy about filing lawsuits and asserting themselves. We know who we're talking about here. Appalachian Power, Norfolk Southern, CSX, and all the above. So you raise a very good point.
Well, just like I said, just last week, we got, for Wyoming County, half a year, $2.5 million.
That might very well be at risk.
Yeah. So, you add that to the $6 million that they're going to pay us back. You add $5 million on top of that. Then you turn around and you add another $1 million because they didn't include supplementals on vehicles. You know, it's, the numbers they're putting out there are, I know the numbers in this county. They are not good.
Well, and there's something I want you to look at, and I would invite anybody to look at this. The governor's pointed this out many times and he made reference to it. In the Senate's plan, there it is. There's the table, Table 1. They assume that the state of West Virginia's budget is going to be completely flat on expenses for the next 4 years. Now, I'm going to look around this room. Does anybody think your personal expenses are going to be flat for the next 4 years? I got my electric bill yesterday. My mom got her electric bill and she's been wearing my ears out about it. She thinks I'm in charge of the electric bills. She's 90 years old. That's right here in their report. Anybody can take a look. I highlighted it. That's right there. A house is only as good as its foundation. That's one of the foundations of this plan, and it's a foolish foundation.
I don't, anybody, but I'd like to say one more thing. My greatest fear here is a long-term fear that down the road, let's say for a year or two they pay us all back. they might give us an extra $1 million. You know, it looks like things are good. But what actually happens when it's not? And it isn't that they're gonna decide to send us money or maybe not send us money. And this is, I can't tell you, and nobody's told me this, it's my own personal fear. They're gonna take a look at 55 counties, say it'd be a little easier probably just to pay this money to 30 counties. I see that as a long-term trend. I'm not saying there's anybody down there planning it, but it spooks me.
It's happened forever. I mean, ask yourself, just ask yourself. I mean, does Charleston know you even exist in many ways? I mean, really, I mean, we say what we want. I mean, they may come to you and say, well, we're gonna get you another $1 million. Well, I mean, you know, well, that's easy. I could say, you know, Babydog and I are gonna give you all our chicken nuggets, but it's probably not gonna happen. You know, I mean, you know, it just, we can say anything, you know, but just because we say it doesn't mean that it's just absolute gospel. You're not giving up your nuggets, are you? But
I could envision in the future, if this were to come to pass, them sending the assessor a letter, them being the state tax commissioner, and saying, by the way, you need to raise your property values about 40%.
yeah, oh yeah,
Shift the cost.
good.
Or let's quit using 60% of appraised value. Let's just use appraised value.
Well,
If they don't do that, then what, I tell my old buddy here, Brad, you and one deputy's going to take care of the county. You know,
remember what I said about how good people we are, faith-based, low crime. I mean, you know, if we got 2 people taking care of the whole county, I mean, what's going to happen? It isn't with low crime. I mean, it's going to be, oh, goodness gracious. There was something that y'all were saying just a second ago that, oh, I know. Think with me just one more second about just this. You're all cold people, and which is great. It's good stuff. Okay? You're cold people. So am I. I owe my life to cold. That's all there is to it. I'm proud of it. But in all that, we all know, do we all know the boom, bust, boom, bust, boom, bust? We've lived that and lived that and lived that and lived that. Look at this chart.
coal production in Wyoming County.
Just boom, bust, boom, bust, boom, bust.
Just happened to have that, Governor.
You've got a lot of information.
That's back since 2001.
He has a chart attack every now and then.
Well, just think about this. What happens, we're bringing in so much dollars right now from severance tax, it's off the chart. What happens if it just goes away? It gets right back to that do happens deal. Let me just tell you this, and I personally, I hope I'm not going to step on any toes here, but I personally think the Biden administration is the god-awfulest mess you've ever seen in your life. And it drives me crazy. I mean, it drives me completely crazy. I think that if that were my dad, there's no chance on earth that I'd let him embarrass himself like he does. There's no way that I'd let that man do that. No, I just wouldn't let him do it if it was my dad, you know. But with all that being said, the direction I think the administration in the United States is going today, the presidency, is dead 100% wrong. What happens? What happens if a nuclear weapon goes off somewhere in the world with the Russians tomorrow? What happens if the stock market drops from 30,000 to 9,000? What happens to our rainy day fund? What happens? That we're going to have to put money to prop up the rainy day fund, or our bonds will be derated like crazy, interest rates go straight through the roof. What in the world happens if any dupe happens and you're about to hand Charleston the keys to Emerald City? And you know what? Nobody even knows it. Nobody knows it. That's, and literally, you're going to see the ad come on, Little girl standing there saying, my mommy really needs rid of her car tax. And they're not, and your vote is there's no way, you can't be expected to know it. You don't know. That's why I'm here. The only reason that I'm here. I mean, for God's sakes, living, I'd rather be doing a million other things. No, not really. Because I love you, and I especially love Wyoming County. You know, if you think about my mom, Huff Mountain, 10 kids, 3 of them in the war at the same time. Never had indoor plumbing. I was there a million times. My dad up there in Copperston, little house, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, only child. You know, World War II, captain in the Air Force. I mean, I owe everything I have to Wyoming County, to Cole, to West Virginia, to you. And you're about to have, let me end by just saying this, and I really didn't really intend to talk about this, but I've got to just show you this. I got something to write on.
The other way, look the other way.
Right beside you.
Oh gosh, I'll have to stand up. Okay. Now I want you to look at this. I want you to just think. This is what I said will be the all-time biggest mistake in the history of the state of West Virginia. All-time biggest forever. Now just think, stay with me, baby. Now think about this. Bob Murray, you surely heard of Murray Energy or Murray Coal. When I first got there, I said, tier the severance tax on coal and oil and gas. Tier it. In other words, when things are really, really bad, let's help those companies. But when things are really, really good, let's ask them to throw in a little bit more to collection plate. Now just think with me. At that time, coal was $32. And Bob Murray said, I got to have a couple rabbits. That's what he called them. He said, I'm really hurting. He had a little oxygen machine on him. He was really in bad shape. I'd never met him before in my life. Sitting in my office. And I said, well, Bob, I've told everybody that we should tier the severance tax on coal and gas. And he said, listen, I ain't got any problem with that if you'll help me when it's here. And I said, we should help you when it's here. He said, can I go, Bob Murray go, and come up with a tiering on severance tax and bring it back to you? I said, sure. I've got it right on his stationery. Murray Energy. Here's his tiering. Steam coal. This is steam. Okay? At $74 a ton, greater than $74 a ton, the severance tax was 10% on his thing, on his number. Now you've got to really, really dial in here. Just 1 second. At $32, he was paying 5, and we were going to go to, no, he wanted to go to 2 and 0.75. And I said, let's do it, Bob. Let's do it. The difference today, everybody for all practical purposes is paying 3%. And if you'll just take, today, steam coal is $200. And it could even be higher than that. But now let's take the difference. The difference in 10 and 3% is 7% that we just threw away. 7% of that is $14 a ton. That we're not getting because we threw it away. Dumbest move of all time. Okay? Now, that $14 a ton, how many tons are we mining in West Virginia today? Steam coal, 80 million. That $14 times this equals $1.1 billion more of money could be in West Virginia right now. Right now. Now, if this isn't enough for you, hold it just a second. If this isn't enough for you, met coal met coal would almost equal this, not quite, about 600 million. And gas would almost equal met and steam put together at about $1.7 billion. And when you put all these together, you would almost have as much revenue as there is in the entire state of West Virginia. Think about what I just said. Joe, you got it handled.
Babydog, come here. Come here. Come here. Good Babydog.
Well, now listen. Here's all I'm saying. The only reason I go through that is one thing and one thing alone. And that is, that will be, if I'm half right, that right there would have represented a couple $2 billion of extra money. If I'm half right. What I say unequivocally, we screwed up. Dad would say, and stay with me just one more second. Dad would say, son, because you know, I know you don't know me this way, but for God's sakes, a living. I mean, I ran bulldozer after bulldozer. I planted thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres of corn and harvested them. You know, I can do that. Dad would have looked right at me and said, son, if you're running a D10 and you come on a wet spot and you get that D10 hung up when you're really trying to work it as best you possibly can, it's okay. But son, you better damn well never go get another D10 to pull that one out and get them both hung up. Well, we got one hung up. So there's to it. We're about to hang the other one up. Man, we don't want to do this, I'm telling you. All right, that's all I got, unless y'all got something else, because y'all are going to want to be with Babydog here. So. Come here, baby. Put her back in the chair just a second. If y'all want to come up and say hi to her, y'all come on up here. But, what are you doing? You just took off and left me there. If y'all got something to do, go do it. If y'all want to come up and say hi to Babydog, y'all come up, I'll sit right here, okay?